Hi everyone, and welcome to the Inspire series, episode 3. This is a series designed to give you inspiration in life, and this episode is a little different because I will be speaking to a special person, and this special person is one of my best friends, Afua. Afua is a digital illustrator and writer. She won the Faber Fab Prize in 2023, which is a prize run by the Faber Publishing Company. And she won this for her young adult fiction novel, Supermortals. She is currently working on freelance illustration projects, and this is my Q&A with her. And just a disclaimer, we did have this conversation in a cafe, hence the video footage. We were having crepes, pancakes, so that explains that, and also that you may be able to hear some background noise. If you do, it's because we did in a cafe, and I did try to block out the background noise, so just forgive me if the audio is not the best. Here is our chat.
All right. So, what inspired you to become an illustrator?
Um, See, the thing is, like, I've always drawn since I was a kid. So I really loved watching, like animated movies from Disney, Studio Ghibli, and I loved watching cartoons growing up. And like, I thought, oh, I really want to be an animator or an illustrator. So it's something I'd wanted to do from a very, very early age. So I guess my inspiration was like the media I consumed. Like, it really sparked my imagination, and it really inspired me to want to keep practicing, getting better, drawing, trying new things like painting, and I really had fun in art class and stuff. So yeah, I'd say like the things I consumed around me spurred me on to keep wanting to draw.
So you had that interest
Yeah, yeah,
from when you were little.
for a very long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And could you tell us a bit about your journey in the artistic field? So maybe your path to this point.
So I did do art at GCSE and A level, but then at A level I didn't really enjoy the direction they tried to take me. It was a lot of sculpture and stuff, and I didn't really enjoy it. So then I still drew in my own time, but I didn't pursue it academically for a long time. And then I don't know, I feel like after years of doing like, quote unquote normal jobs or like admin jobs and stuff like that, I really missed it, and I thought, you know what, I can't carry on doing this. So then I started to pursue like drawing in my own time. So I started to practice. I got into like digital illustration. Then I did try to do like a master's in illustration at one point, but I didn't really enjoy it. So then I just wanted to get stuck in. So then one day when I thought I'd done enough, practiced enough digital illustration, I just went ahead and just sent my portfolio to um, a bunch of illustration agencies. And luckily I heard back from one.
Yeah.
And that's the one I'm with today, Beehive Illustration. And now I get regular projects with them. It was so going at first, but then now I get to like illustrate children's books, and educational materials. And I was lucky enough that I think HarperCollins sent me a picture book that I worked on, so that was really nice to hold it physically. But yeah, so it's been a linear journey, but I got there.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think, did you know, like when you were taking our A levels and GCSE, did you know at that point that it would be specifically illustration, or was it just art in general?
But I definitely wanted to illustrate, and I definitely wanted to do like comics and stuff. I wanted to animate, but part of me, I don't know, it was during that time when 2D animation was kind of translating into 3D. And that's not really something I was that interested in, 3D animation. I liked 2D because that's what I fell in love with as a child. So then I wasn't sure if I wanted to do animation anymore. But yeah, I always wanted to just, like being just a straight artist isn't necessarily what I wanted to do. It was just, I wanted to do something specific. So like children's books, comics, stuff like that. Yeah.
So you had a specific
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
And this is like a two-parter, but where do you get your inspiration for your own project?
Um, I'd say like a lot of my projects are quite, I don't know, for lack of a better word, a bit wacky. They're usually fantasy and usually a bit whimsical. But I think that's also because I was very inspired by fairy tales, especially Studio Ghibli. Like some of the movies are really unusual, like lots of twists and turns. So like, yeah, mostly fantasy books I've read. Those are like what inspire me in uh, my current projects now. So right now I'm starting to work on a project. It's very weird. It's kind of like Pinocchio-esque, but it's about an old woman who longs for a child, and um, but she has like a little tree that she takes care of, and she makes a wish, and then that tree sounds so weird. That tree turns into a child, basically.
Wow.
Like, but she's made of wood. Like she's kind of like she kind of looks like a I don't know,
Wooden child.
like a tree sprite kind of thing. And the child grows up and she wants to be human, and she can if she gives her life for another. You know how fairy tales, if you give your life for another, you'll get a human soul, blah blah blah. Yeah, and yeah, that's kind of how the story is like. It's kind of like a coming of age, friendship, romance kind of thing. Yeah, so it's a bit whimsical and weird. The setting's kind of like in a forest, with a village and a castle and stuff. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
And you said that it's kind of based on, or what inspired you specifically for that one is Pinocchio.
Yeah, Pinocchio slash another story that's kind of adjacent to that. But I would say Beast of the Beast maybe is a bit too harsh, but like not that this child is
Yeah.
a beast, but yeah,
But that kind of genre,
yeah,
very
yeah.
um and in terms of, you mentioned Studio Ghibli, um is there a specific story that you loved?
My favorite, I mean, absolute favorites are Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. Like I've watched those multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my absolute favorite.
What do you think it is about them that captivated you?
I think it's like just how colorful and vivid they are, and also just the twists and turns and how, like, obviously the story's pretty linear, but like it's like the main characters go through character growth and become more confident at the end.
Yeah.
But it's just how the story goes about telling that in such a like whimsical and non-linear way that I find is really different from like European storytelling.
Sure.
So I feel like that kind of randomness is what I really love about those movies. Yeah, it's just so many different settings.
Twists and
Yeah,
turns.
twists and turns.
Yeah. You get it. And what inspires you, like in general, in your, not specific to your stories, but for your art in general?
I'd say probably nature as well. I like drawing like trees and flowers and like just outdoors. I like that kind of setting a lot.
Yeah.
And I find that, well, actually, weirdly enough, when I'm drawing, it's usually quite bright and pretty and whimsical. But when I write, that's where I save all my darker stuff for, like darker feelings, darker settings, like cities and that kind of thing. It's weird. I wonder why. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's visual. So I save the darker stuff for the writing.
The writing.
Yeah, I don't really draw cities and stuff that buildings that much actually, unless it's for a project.
Okay.
My agency.
And what generally, when you're obviously your career is an illustrator mainly at the moment, but you write, which one usually comes first, or does it just depend?
I'd say I like to draw a lot more than I like to write. I do like writing a lot though.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of want to combine it and do comics. But I'd say I draw slightly more than I write. Like drawing comes quite naturally to me. Like I can get an idea, start drawing. If I write, I have to plan it and sit down and really think. Yeah.
But for example, with a story, with a novel, would you start with the illustrations first, or would you start?
No, with a novel, I'll still outline in words. Um, but say if I was doing a comic, I might storyboard, but also outline as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a novel. That was, of course, with a novel you don't usually have images.
Yeah. But I do imagine my characters in my head though.
And so it's always nearly the visual that comes
Yeah, I
first.
think I'm a very visual thinker in general. Yeah.
Makes sense. That's why you do art or illustration specifically. And do you have any advice for someone looking to get into illustration work?
I'd say like practice. Really, really like if you like try your best every single day to draw something. Like even if it's a little quick sketch, or if you have any ideas for drawings, like jot them down or you will forget them. But definitely practice and also take anatomy seriously. Because sometimes you think you have a good idea of anatomy, but you don't. Like it's and also don't be afraid to use references as well. Like drawing from memory isn't as beneficial as you think it is, I feel. Like obviously once you learn all the tricks, you can obviously start drawing from the imagination whenever you feel like, but I still use references all the time.
Yeah.
And also once you've got that down, don't be afraid to like just put your work out there on social media, reach out to if you want to join an agency, don't be afraid to do that because I thought I wasn't ready. I remember actually before I actually sent out all my portfolio to all agencies, I actually sent my work out to someone who was an illustrator and asked them to critique my work, and they said that they really don't see my work being commercial. And that was just before I said, well, I don't care, I'm still going to try. So just because your work isn't for someone doesn't mean other people won't resonate with it. So
You still put yourself out there by that critique.
Someone will enjoy your art styles.
Yeah. And you were mentioning about sort of contacting agencies. How, if people want to do that, how would they maybe go about it? How would they start doing it?
The thing is, different agencies want you to contact them in different ways. So with Beehive, fill in an online form. You have to fill in an online form and send them like full pieces of work. But others will want you to write like a little letter and attach work. Some of them will only want you to attach work. Others will want you to send your whole portfolio. So it depends. You have to read their guidelines.
Okay, so maybe do a Google search and
really do your research.
Reach out to as many as possible that fit with you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another thing. You must make sure they hire people whose work looks like yours. Otherwise, it's not really worth. You could still try.
Yeah.
But there's a chance they probably won't. So I applied to a lot of places. I did apply. There was a mixture. I applied to places that looked like they would take me, and then others that just trying my luck.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. So look up the clients that they have or the people that they have already.
Yeah.
And see if it kind of matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to convey with your art when people see it or look at it?
I think obviously when I do projects, I obviously follow the brief that the company gives me. But I've noticed that in general, the projects I do get usually like involve POC, because I myself, obviously, I'm a POC illustrator. But I think one thing in my personal projects that I'm trying to do is that obviously when I was growing up, I watched a lot of fantasy and stuff, but I noticed there wasn't a lot of characters that looked like me. So I think in my personal projects, I think I want to fill that gap in terms of sort of new stories that feature characters that look like me and are more multicultural.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that's very important for me,
Yeah.
personally. But I ended up doing anyway in my commercial projects as well. So I find that
Sure.
those projects often come my way anyway. So
Yeah.
that's been nice to do as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to for anyone who's unsure, so POC is people of color.
Yeah.
Great. And does that mean that you sort of that's your niche specifically, or do you sometimes go outside that as well?
Yeah, I draw a range of characters, obviously, but I think in general there aren't a lot of illustrators who are like non-white. So I find that when there are projects of that kind of that feature characters that are, different races and stuff, I find that I'm one of the few artists that comes their way, because I think they obviously they want the person to do who's doing the project to be as authentic as possible.
Of course.
To the main characters, I guess it's a point of view, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think both in my personal projects and in my professional projects, I ended up doing that.
Yeah, great. And is there any other messages that you want people to take away from?
I think also like just a form of escape, I think, and just like because I do in my in my personal projects, I do like portraying like fantasy and whimsy and stuff. So I think it's escapism and just like a sense of wonder.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Um, and what does creating mean to you? So that could be creating anything really, not necessarily purely just your illustrations, but creating in general. What does that mean for you?
I think it's just like a form of self-expression, again, escapism, and just sort of finding a way to bring what's within you out into the world in a physical way. Um, I think it's important to, so obviously when you feel feelings, it's important to talk about them.
Yeah.
But when you're creative, it also allows those feelings to take shape in a different way. And you can, if you choose to, you can share it with others. I think that's really a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So whatever the form it takes, whether illustration, I don't know, singing or anything, I think it's like it's a way to I think it's a very human thing to create as well. And even if it's not very, quote unquote very good, it still takes your mind off the stresses of every day. So I think creativity, it's very important in that way.
I agree. So, and we don't sometimes realize that we're creating when we actually are, even if it's like creating a dish or cooking.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly. Yeah.
Meaning, I just from what you were saying about why you create, it got me thinking about, and I know you know them because we went to their concert, Paper Kites. I read something that they had written. I think they were answering some questions. The lead singer was answering a question about someone asked him whether his song, their music, sort of comes from something beyond themselves or something in the divine. Is it coming from that? Do they feel like it's not necessarily the ideas and the inspirations coming from them themselves? Do you relate to that in any way? Or I guess do you feel like sometimes it is not coming from your own, I guess,
Yeah, I know what you
physical
mean.
mind?
Sometimes you get an idea that's so, I don't know, meaningful that sometimes it does feel like it comes from beyond yourself, or like you owe it not to be dramatic, but you owe it,
Yeah.
I guess, the world to put it out there. Because I feel like, I don't know, sometimes, like you said, one time I heard this idea that sometimes ideas don't necessarily belong to you. Like, if you have something in your heart and the idea source is yearning to come out of you, if you don't take on that responsibility, then the idea will move on to someone else. I've heard that idea that ideas are kind of like elsewhere,
Yeah.
and that if it chooses you, you might as well answer its call and share it with others.
Sure.
So sometimes it does feel like ideas are almost have a mind of their own. Sometimes you have an idea of how something will go, and then it sort of evolves into something better than you thought.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So almost like you're the vessel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes that you have related to.
Yeah, I have.
Mm.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the main questions, I guess, specifically to your art.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to end this conversation with some quick fire questions about art and hopefully again to give people inspiration. Maybe they want to check things out. So, and this is currently for you now, because I know their favorite question, as in what's your favorite XYZ, but I know favorites can change, but I guess this is for your favorite right now.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite, I guess someone in the art world or maybe illustration world that is currently your favorite now, or maybe it's I know you mentioned Studio Ghibli.
Um, yeah, Studio Ghibli has always been my favorite, but I think right now it's web comic creator. What her name though, but she made a comic series called Hooky. It's really, really popular. And I'm reading her new series called Marionetta.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a Spanish illustrator. I forgot her name.
Okay, and one of her works is, did you say Hooky?
Yeah, Hooky.
Oh, how do you spell that?
Hooky.
Oh.
I read the comic series recently.
Oh, so this Spanish art, she's currently one of your
Yeah, one of my
favorite.
favorites.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite song at the moment that you're listening to, or an artist, like a musician?
What songs? No, I've been listening to a bunch of songs right now, but gosh, I really like Chaperone right now. I like her song Casual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you actually? This is like off topic, but do you usually listen to music whilst you're doing your illustration?
It depends what stage I'm at. So if I'm sketching, no, I can't because if I do that. But if I'm like outlining or coloring, then yes.
Right. Okay. So when you're doing I guess the work that
Ideation,
requires
yeah.
more concentration is usually just
Yeah.
So Chapel Roan, nice. And do you have a favorite? This can be TV series or movie that you love at the moment, or could get all time. Doesn't have to be at the moment.
I really liked Dune. I watched
Oh,
Dune,
Dune,
the second
yeah.
one. That was really good.
So you prefer the second one?
Yeah, I prefer the second one. Yeah.
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 Nice. And
Oh, and I really liked Challenges. That had Zendaya in it. That was really good. That was very, very good, actually.
challenges.
Yeah.
And final question. Do you have a favorite piece of your own work, a favorite work of your own that you've done that you're maybe really proud of?
I do have a favorite, like this illustration of a girl staying by a tree, surrounded by nature. I really like that one.
Okay.
It's my because every illustrator gets to choose like a color image, like their profile on Wattpad, and that actually my profile on there, that drawing.
Oh,
I just really love that drawing. I think it reminds me of myself. That's why.
okay. So maybe you see yourself in that character, or
Yeah.
you kind of drew her from yourself.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe if we have it available, we can show it to people in
Yeah.
a video.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, thanks so much, Afua,
Yeah, no problem.
for doing this. And is there anything that you want to share with people? Anyone who's listening who might want to check your work out?
Well, like socials and things.
Well, or do you want to keep them posted on the next project or the project that you're working on at the moment?
Right. Well, right now I'm working on a chapter book. I think it's called Beauty Month. The title might change because it's still in.
Right.
I'm not sure when it comes out.
Yeah.
But it's with HarperCollins, and the author is called. Oh my goodness, I know her surname is Redway.
Yeah.
I think it's Catherine or is it Rachel? One of those two.
We're putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
No problem. But of
Yeah.
course, if anyone wants to check you out, they can just
Yeah.
go to your social media platform.
Yeah.